You open your eyes, and the first thing that pops into your head is, holy fucking shit, where the hell am I? The ceiling above you looks like it was built out of rotten straw and half-assed lumber that's seen better days, like back when dinosaurs still roamed around. And the smell? Oh man, the smell hits you like a truckload of Taco Bell left out in the sun. It's this magical cocktail of fermented piss, sun-dried crap, what you swear is a 3-week-old dead rat somewhere under the floorboards, and just the right spritz of crusty vomit for that artisanal finish. It's like somebody launched their own fragrance line called Eau de Medieval Misery and just hosed the whole goddamn place down with it. You try to sit up, but your body protests like it just got run over by a Walmart shopping cart full of drunk frat bros driven by a blind epileptic during an earthquake. Every muscle screams, every joint creaks like the door of a haunted house in a shitty horror flick, and you're pretty sure you spent the night sleeping on jagged rocks while somebody used you as their personal soccer ball. You glance down and, holy fucking shit! Where are your goddamn family jewels? You paw frantically at the area where your lifelong companions should be and find nothing, just a void. An absence louder than an elephant at a Starbucks or an honest politician in Congress. Where once resided your proud reproductive organs, there's now just an existential abyss that makes you question every single decision you've ever made. What the fuck? You scream, only your voice comes out about 3 octaves higher than usual. Like, way higher. Like somebody hit the castrato button on your vocal cords and snapped the remote in half. You sound like a choir boy who huffed helium straight from a party balloon, only worse. Embarrassing doesn't even cover it. You sound like Alvin the Chipmunk on estrogen. Reality slaps you harder than Mike Tyson in his prime. You're a goddamn eunuch. In the fucking Middle Ages. And judging by the way your body's reacting, shaking like a leaf in a hurricane, sweating buckets like you just got pulled over with a trunk full of cocaine, and fighting back tears like a toddler who dropped their ice cream and found out Santa isn't real, you're not gonna last a single goddamn day in this era. You look around, you're in some kind of dorm that makes a max security prison look like the Ritz-Carlton with spa access. Dozens of so-called beds, and I'm using that word more generously than politicians use the word truth, are scattered across the floor. They're basically moldy straw sacks tossed on rotting planks, some complete with rusty nails sticking out the sides. The place is about as cozy as a butcher shop abandoned in a war zone. Footsteps, and a smell even worse than the room itself, which you didn't think was scientifically possible. But here we are. You dive under what looks like a blanket sewn from potato sacks and rat fur, sprinkled with spices of questionable origin. Through a crack in the wall, because of course this dump doesn't even have proper walls, you see a guy who looks like he crawled straight out of hell after losing a bar fight with Satan. He's bearded, mostly toothless, wearing clothes that haven't been washed since Jesus was making chairs, and his eyes scream, "I eat children for breakfast and floss with their bones." "Hey, new bitch," he growls, voice like sandpaper dragging across rusty metal in a death metal concert. "Get your lazy ass up. You got work to do. And if you think you're just gonna lay there like a corpse at a Walmart funeral, you're dead wrong, motherfucker. Work? Work? You can barely stand without blacking out like a fainting Victorian lady, and this bastard expects you to work? But he clearly doesn't give a single medieval shit about your physical limitations, your shattered manhood, or your spiraling identity crisis. You're cleaning the noble's latrine today, and if you fuck it up, literally, you ain't eating for 3 days. And don't give me those puppy dog eyes, dumbass. The last rookie who fucked up starved to death in 5 days flat. His bones are still in the corner. Check it out. And sure enough, there they are. Human bones, piled up like some kind of cozy medieval home decor. Lovely. Latrine. For nobles. You'd rather die right here. Honestly, sudden death would be a goddamn blessing compared to what's waiting for you. You picture yourself scrubbing the royal shit stains of dudes who feast on roasted boar, pheasant, and gallons of wine, while you choke down crumbs if you're lucky. It's gonna be a sensory experience you'll never forget. In the same way, nobody forgets their first car crash. You stumble toward the latrine, following the instructions of Captain Friendly, which mostly consist of creative death threats involving sharp objects and orifices. And holy motherfucking shit! The stench slams into you so hard, you're pretty sure you just shaved a decade off your life. It's like every demon in hell decided to host a chili cook-off in your nose, serving up fermented diarrhea with a side of vintage piss, and maybe, just maybe, a sprinkle of decomposing human flesh. The latrine itself is just a hole in the ground, framed by crooked planks, with technicolor splatters decorating the walls around it. You didn't even know nature had this many shades of brown, green, and yellow. It's practically modern art, if modern art was a war crime. "This is my destiny," you mutter, holding a bucket heavier than your dignity and a shovel that looks like it was chewed up and spit out by angry beavers. Cleaning noble shit is a dickless wonder? Wow. Dream life unlocked. The irony's not lost on you. Back in your day, you probably whined about washing the dishes. That was hard work. Now you're literally wrist deep in somebody else's royal dump. Gloves? What are you, Elon Musk? Nah, here it's just bare hands, raw courage, and 0 tetanus shots. If you catch the plague, that's on you, rookie. While you work, and by work, I mean gag violently every 3 seconds while questioning the meaning of existence, other eunuchs pass by. Some give you pity looks, like they're watching a squirrel get run over. Others just straight up sneer, like you're the bottom of the bottom. And a few toss you that classic, "Welcome to hell, bro. Nobody's got balls here, so stop crying." Look. "First day on noble shit duty?" asks one kid who looks 15 but has the dead eyes of someone who's lived 3 lives, 2 in purgatory, 1 in hardcore hell with bonus torture DLC. His hands are scarred, his face blank, his soul long gone. You get used to it, or you die. Both work fine. Inspirational as fuck, right? Nothing like a pep talk from a teenager who looks like he's been to Mordor and back to start your day. "Why you talking like that?" you ask, trying not to breathe through your mouth. "Been here 5 years, he shrugs. "I've scrubbed the shit of counts, dukes, even a cardinal who legit crapped rocks. Dude must have lived on bread and cheese." The day drags on in a highlight reel of humiliation that makes Fear Factor look like Sesame Street. You spill the shit bucket twice. You slip in your own incompetence 3 times. You get cursed out in at least 15 languages you didn't even know existed, and learn there are about 20 ways to call someone useless in medieval Latin, 5 in Old French, and 1 in German that involves comparing you to a dead cow's anus. "You're a disgrace, even among eunuchs," sneers another guy, his face carved with a scar that makes him look like he lost a knife fight with a lion. And trust me, the bar is already underground here. "What's his deal?" you whisper to the kid with the scarred hands. "Oh, that guy. Tried to steal an apple once. Got whipped across the face. Now he's the official 'Don't Steal Shit' poster boy. Cute, huh?" As you keep scrubbing away, you realize eunuch society has its own goddamn hierarchy, more complex than a corporate org chart. You got latrine eunuchs, that's you, kitchen eunuchs, slightly better, messenger eunuchs, way better, noble eunuchs, basically gods, and at the top, the king's eunuchs, straight up untouchable, like CEOs of suffering. So how the hell do you climb up this shit ladder, you ask? Don't die, the kid answers flatly, and get lucky, like Powerball lucky. Before you keep riding this glory train of medieval misery, hit subscribe, slap that sneaky like button, and ring the bell. Because you're gonna want to witness every single dumpster fire moment this unlucky eunuch experiences. Seriously, don't miss it. You wake up on day 2 with a back pain so savage it would make an 80-year-old look like an Olympic sprinter. Somehow your straw bed got even worse overnight, like someone snuck in and shoved pointy rocks under the sack just for the lulls. And the smell? Oh, congratulations. It got an upgrade. Apparently, the dormitory decided a little rotten fish and sour sweat would tie the whole ambiance together. It's like somebody blended a seafood market on fire with a locker room left to ferment. "Get up, princess," bellows the same charming gentleman from yesterday, except today he's crankier, if that's even scientifically possible. You're going to learn how not to starve today, which, given your dumpster-tier performance yesterday, is a skill you desperately need. You haul yourself to what passes for a mess hall, which makes a landfill look like a Michelin star pop-up. The tables are rotted boards balanced on collapsing trestles, and the plates are chunks of wood with suspiciously ancient grooves. Your first meal as a medieval eunuch, a bowl of something that might be soup. It contains floating bits you're wise enough not to identify, a rock-hard wedge of bread that doubles as a weapon, and water so dubious it tastes like rust, with a hint of existential despair. "Oh, yum," you mutter, imagining burgers, pizza, and literally anything not prepared by someone whose culinary training was watching one too many plagues. "Quit whining, rookie," says the scarred kid you met earlier, who introduces himself as Marcus. "Yesterday you didn't even get food because you spilled the bucket. At least today you get this soup. Don't ask what's in it. You try eating, but every bite is a gastronomic game of Russian roulette. The bread is so dense, you have to dunk it into the soggy mystery to soften it enough to chew, and it still tastes like fermented sawdust and regret. Why the hell did I end up here? You groan. Everyone asks, Marcus says. Some are born here. Some were sold by their families. Some castrated as punishment. You? How did you get here without remembering? Good question. You honestly have zero idea. Last thing you remember is pulling up to the 21st century, complaining about something trivial. And now you're a dickless refugee in a compost-scented dorm, eating questionable broth and chatting with a kid who looks like a retired gladiator. I don't remember, you confess. I woke up yesterday, found I don't have, and now this. Amnesia? Marcus perks up. Huh, seen that before. Castration trauma sometimes wipes your memory. Brain's a cheap protective feature. Lucky you. At least you don't remember the pain. Lucky. Right. Because losing your goods, chais, and time traveling is the kind of luck you brag about at family reunions. After the breakfast from hell, you get assigned to a new job. Kitchen help. You think, score, no literal shit today. But immediately regret that optimism. Medieval kitchens are an inferno. Heat, smoke, and smells that could induce involuntary screaming. You're helping prep lunch for the nobles, explains an older eunuch named Brutus, who has more nasal hair than you had whole-body hair pre-castration. Listen up. If you mess anything up, I'm getting the whip. And if I get whipped, you get the grave. Got it? Got it. The chain of command is refreshingly straightforward. Everything bad cascades down until it hits you. First chore, pluck chickens. Dead chickens, obviously. Live ones would be too easy. But these birds look like they met a rotisserie demon. Some are discolored, others have textures you'd rather not analyze, and at least one definitely blinked at you when you weren't looking directly at it. How do I clean this, you ask, clutching a bird that seems like it fought a dragon pre-death. With your hands, fool, Brutus snaps, and be quick. Nobles eat at noontime, and if the food's late, guess who becomes rat food? You start plucking, and it's trauma in a loop. Each feather tug comes with disgusting squelches, weird smells, and occasional splatters of stuff that may or may not be blood. It's a horror movie where you're the unwilling star and someone else controls the remote. Gross, you whisper, trying not to puke. First week's always hell, says another kitchen eunuch. Felix, one-eyed, sporting a leather patch that probably once covered a more pleasant face. You'll get used to it. I ate while gutting pig intestines for a week. Now I can nap through a blizzard of entrails. Wow, inspirational quote, right there. While you wrestle the undead poultry, the kitchen hums with other charming activities. Someone's chopping onions with such fury they could get a tear-jerking Oscar. Another stirs a cauldron that simmers with the very essence of regret. A third is doing something to a pig you've wisely decided not to investigate past arm's length. What's the hierarchy here? You ask Felix during a breath-stealing break, literally because you're holding your breath to avoid inhaling whatever the cauldron's giving off. Simple, Felix says, sharpening a knife that's aged poorly. The more important your role, the better you eat, the better you sleep, and the less likely you are to die horrifically. We in the kitchen are mid-tier, better than sanitation, worse than messengers. And how do you climb? You prod. Skill, luck, and mostly don't die, Felix laughs. Seems basic, but you'd be amazed how many can't hit the third requirement. Meanwhile, eunuch society reveals itself as dramatic as any modern reality TV. Cliques, gossip, petty betrayals, all the good stuff, but with a higher mortality rate. Felix nods toward a veteran stirring a pot. See that? That's Romano. 15 years here. Survived 3 lord changes, 2 plagues, and a rebellion. A legend. And him? You ask, pointing. That's Caius. Fresh meat. Won't see next month. Too soft. Like you. Lovely pep talk. Serving the nobles means carrying silver platters. Silver so tarnished it's basically blackened metal posing as fancy. You finally get to see the people whose shit you scrub and whose meals you make. They're underwhelming. No regal grace. Just corpulent, sweaty, fetid humans with mouths like animal traps. The head noble resembles a boar who somehow learned to stand upright and picked up a gaudy scarf. "Where's my food?" he bellows like a choking hog. "I'm starving. That meal better be impeccable or someone's going to the block." The block? You catch Felix's subtle eyebrow. Explanation pending. For now, don't drop the tray, because that apparently equals instant public decoration. They devour food like animals starved for days. They don't eat. They assault the plates, dribble gravy in theatrical arcs, and burp so loud birds momentarily reconsider flight. "This is disgusting," you whisper to Marcus while passing another platter. "Wait until wine hits them," Marcus says. "Then it gets interesting." And then you do it. You commit your first cardinal sin of the day. A rogue splash of sauce stains a table. Not a person, not the meal, just the ancient wooden plank. The noble javelin erupts. "Who did this?" he roars, rising with the kind of speed that defies both age and logic. All eunuchs present look at you. Solidarity? Not today. "It was me, my lord," you stammer, bracing for medieval consequences. He steers his stare at you like you're filth incarnate, impressive considering what he's been consuming all afternoon. 10 lashes, he declares, and no supper. 10 lashes for a blotted table? The logic is medieval, the cruelty astonishing. You open your mouth to argue, but Felix clamps a calloused hand on your arm and whispers, "Take it and shut up, or it'll be worse." So you take it. Silence seems to be the only survival tactic here. The day dissolves into a haze of dread. You finish kitchen duties, scrub grease from pans with water that's roughly the same constitution as mud, and then it's time for punishment. Severus, a grizzled older eunuch who looks like he enjoys suffering, administers the lashes. Each whip tears not just skin, but something from inside you. You collapse, panting, bleeding, and deeply contemplating every life choice that led to this moment. "Welcome to eunuch life," Marcus says while helping you to your feet. "Now you're officially part of the dysfunctional family." Oh, what a family reunion. Night falls. Back on your infested straw bed, spine aflame, belly growling, you stare at the rotten ceiling and whisper, "How the hell do I survive this?" Turns out the answer is a brutal cocktail of dumb luck, quick thinking, and an impressive tolerance for literal and metaphorical shit. "Tomorrow's another day," you murmur into the darkness, trying to convince yourself that's hope and not a prelude to more despair. Spoiler alert, it's more despair. But hey, stay subscribed so you don't miss the train wreck. You wake up on day 3 feeling like you got jumped by a herd of drunk horses. Yesterday's lashes turned your back into an abstract art piece made out of pain, dried blood, and regret. Every twitch of your body is a lovely reminder that you are officially bottom of the bottom in this medieval hellhole. "Morning, sunshine," Marcus grins with sadistic cheer. "Sleep okay? Back not too bad, right?" "Fuck off, Marcus," you groan, trying to stand without screaming. "This place is hell." "Hell? Nah, man. Hell would be cozy compared to this. At least in hell you know you're dead. Here, every morning's a surprise." What an inspirational way to kick off the day. Today's assignment? Even better than the last one's. Stables duty. That's right, you're cleaning up horse shit now. Apparently, your true medieval superpower is handling excrement from every species on the planet. Congrats, champ. You've found your niche. Stables are different, Felix explains as you shuffle across the castle yard. It's hard labor, but at least a horse won't bitch if you spill something on him. Unlike those noble assholes. Thesis, the stable is a massive barn that reeks of concentrated piss, fermented manure, and, if your nose is right, a dead horse decomposing somewhere out of sight. 20 horses fill the stalls, all of them looking healthier and better fed than you. The irony stabs deep. The animals have a better quality of life than the dickless humans cleaning up after them. "Job's simple," says Brutus, who somehow works every station in the castle, probably because no one can stand him long enough to keep him in one place. "Shovel the shit, swap the straw, feed the beasts. And don't let one get loose, or you'll be leaving this place in a box." "A box?" You blink. "Yeah, a wooden one. 6 feet under. Crystal clear now, genius. Crystal clear. You get to work and quickly learn horse crap is nothing like human crap. First off, It's industrial size. Each horse produces the daily output of 3 regular people. Second, the stench is dialed up to nuclear essence of fermented misery. Third, it's a sticky, mud-like consistency that clings to your clothes, your skin, your hair, and probably your soul. Delicious, you mutter, lugging what feels like your 1,000th bucket of shit before lunch. But then comes incident number 1 of the day. One horse, a massive, pissed-off beast literally named Diablo, decides you're his personal enemy. Every time you go near his stall, he tries to kick, bite, or just straight-up scare the crap out of you with demon noises. "What the hell did I ever do to you, you satanic donkey?" you snarl, just as he takes another swing at your ribcage. "Diablo doesn't like rookies," says another stable eunuch, a scrawny guy named Lucius, who looks like he was born in these stalls. "He's already put 3 guys in the hospital this month." "Hospital?" you ask hopefully. "Oh, right. Forgot you're new. No hospitals here. You get hurt bad? Either you die, or you're crippled forever. That's the whole medical system. If the wound doesn't kill you, the infection will. And if neither does, the treatment will. Perfect. Medieval healthcare is about as effective as a screen door on a submarine. As you shovel, dodge kicks, and reconsider existence, you notice even the stable has a hierarchy. The nobles' horses get fresh straw, shiny buckets, and the good hay. Soldiers' horses get decent stalls. Pack mules? Dumped in the back in conditions that make you look privileged. It's like human society, Lucius shrugs. Only more honest. At least horses don't pretend it's fair. Meanwhile, some eunuchs develop weird bonds with the animals. One guy named Ovid talks to the horses like they're people. Another, Horace, swears they understand Latin. And Tibby? He's convinced one of the horses is secretly plotting a revolution. "You're all fucking nuts," you tell them. "Nuts?" Lucius cackles. "Man, after 5 years of shoveling horse shit, you either go nuts or you go in the ground. And trust me, crazy's way more fun." At noon comes incident number 2. You're cautiously cleaning Diablo's stall, praying, bargaining, doing whatever, when the bastard kicks your full bucket of manure. It rockets through the air and lands on you, head to toe, completely drenched in fermented, steaming horse shit. "You motherfucker!" you roar, dripping sludge from every orifice. Diablo snorts. You swear to God it sounds like a laugh. "Congrats," Lucius says, barely holding back his own laughter. He likes you. If he hated you, you'd already be dead. This is his version of foreplay. How touching. You try to clean yourself, but it's pointless. Horse crap has magical adhesive properties. The more you wipe, the more it spreads. You're basically walking cologne now. Eau de shithole deluxe. You wake up on day 4, crusted in a layer of dried shit mixed with straw. Because apparently baths are a luxury reserved for people who still have dicks and dignity. The stench radiating from your body is so potent even the rats scatter when you walk by. Congrats. You've achieved the impressive milestone of being grosser than the actual environment. That's no small feat around here. "Jesus, dude," Marcus says, covering his nose with a rag. "You smell like a goddamn horse cemetery. What the hell did you do yesterday?" "Long story," you grumble, scraping chunks of fossilized manure off your arm. "Let's just say it involves a psycho horse and my natural talent for coating myself in shit." "Well, good news," Felix strolls in with a sadistic grin. "You got promoted." "Promoted? That sounds suspicious. In this place, promotion usually means new and creative way to suffer." "Promoted to what?" you ask, already dreading the answer. You're now working directly with the nobles. Congrats, you're a personal servant. Well, fuck me sideways. You've officially graduated from cleaning shit at a distance to dealing with the actual shit makers up close. That's not a promotion. That's a death sentence with bonus humiliation. I don't know how to do any of that, you protest. I can't even clean horse crap without disaster. You'll learn quick, Felix smirks, or you'll die trying. Either way, problem solved. You're led into a part of the castle you've never seen, the nobles' quarters. It's like stepping into another world, if that world was decorated by someone with too much money and absolutely zero taste. Carpets worth more than your entire existence, hand-carved furniture that took years to make, and portraits of ugly people who look like they're silently judging you for being alive. Wow, you whisper despite yourself. Yep, says an older eunuch named Quintus, your mentor in this exciting new phase of servitude. Beautiful, huh? Just remember, touch anything without permission, and they'll hang you in the town square. Perfect. A museum with the death penalty for clumsy visitors. Your first task? Dressing the same hogman noble from last week, whom you now learn is called Lord Godfrey, of some shithole no one cares about. And by dressing, we mean you hold his clothes while he struggles into them like a walrus trying to squeeze into a bikini. Careful with the silk, Godfrey bellows as you handle his shirt. This shirt cost more than 10 peasant families. If you tear it, I'll use your skin to make a new one. You hold the fabric like it's spun glass, terrified a stiff breeze will tear it. Meanwhile, Godfrey battles valiantly to stuff his beer belly into a garment clearly designed for someone 40 pounds lighter. Sir, Quintus interjects diplomatically, perhaps the blue shirt would be more comfortable today? No, Godfrey roars, drenched in sweat and wheezing. This is my shirt, my favorite. Probably his favorite because it's the only one left that hasn't already split under the strain. After 20 minutes of epic man versus fabric combat, Godfrey emerges looking like a ham wrapped too tight in gift paper. Your next job, comb his hair, which is traumatic for 3 reasons. 1, it's so greasy it could lubricate an entire wagon. 2, something alive is moving in there. 3, Godfrey won't shut the fuck up while you work, spraying spit and food crumbs across your face like some kind of human lawn sprinkler. You know, he says, chewing on something that might be bread or might be leather, I'm thinking about buying more eunuchs. You're very useful. No kids to worry about, can't seduce the women, and you work till you drop without complaining much. Wow, what an inspiring compliment. You're basically a glorified wrench. And you live longer than slaves, he continues. No sex, no wasted energy, very practical. You want to explain that not having balls doesn't extend your life. It just makes it miserable. But you wisely keep your mouth shut. While combing, you notice other eunuchs stuck in equally degrading jobs. One's helping a noblewoman smear poison-colored makeup on her face, another's arranging jewelry worth more than entire kingdoms, and a third is literally being used as a footstool so a lady can reach her trinkets. Dignity really is a modern invention, you think. Next task, escort Godfrey to the bathroom. Yep. You now get to stand there while this overstuffed hog relieves himself, because apparently wiping is a eunuch's duty. The experience is so traumatizing you seriously consider swan diving out the nearest window. Hold this towel, Godfrey commands, settling onto what passes for a medieval toilet, basically a hole in a plank over a bucket. And don't make faces. It's honest work. Honest? Honest? You're holding a towel so this bastard can wipe his ass, and that's honest work? Godfrey, your definition of honesty needs a goddamn reset. The ordeal comes with a full symphony of noises you didn't know the human body could produce, smells that defy the laws of physics, and Godfrey's running commentary on consistency and color. Excellent, he says proudly. The meat last night was perfect. Look at the shade. You don't look. You'd rather die than look. After that transcendental nightmare, you're sent to help prep Godfrey's private lunch. Because of course the main kitchen isn't good enough for his royal hogness. His private chef, a woman who looks like she wrestled dragons for breakfast, gives you a crash course. Careful with the seasoning, she warns. Too much salt? Whip. Too little salt? Whip. Perfect balance. He still bitches. There's no winning. Then why do we even try, you ask? Because the alternative is starving, she says flatly. Medieval logic, airtight. You spend the entire afternoon chasing after Godfrey's endless whims. He wants water at a specific temperature, lukewarm but not warm, cool but not cold. Food at a specific time, hungry but not too hungry, with appetite but not greed, and attention that's constant but never intrusive. It's a contradictory art, Quintus explains during a stolen moment. You must always be available, but invisible. Always attentive, but never curious. Always efficient, but never rushed. It is an art. An art? No. This is advanced psychological torture disguised as etiquette. You wake up on day 5 with a horrifying realization. You're starting to get used to the constant stench of shit. That should be a massive red flag. But honestly, it's almost a relief. Like one of your daily tortures finally dialed down. Unfortunately, medieval life has its own twisted sense of humor. When one torture eases, 2 new ones pop up to fill the gap. Morning, sunshine, Marcus says, noticing your slightly less traumatized face. Looks like you're settling into eunuch life. Good or bad, depending on your perspective. And what's the bad perspective, you ask nervously? That once you get used to the shit, it means you've officially got 0 expectations left for life, he beams. Congrats, you've given up on everything. Motivational as fuck. Marcus should publish medieval self-help for the hopeless. Today you get slapped with a new responsibility. Helping prepare a banquet for very important guests. Apparently, some high-ranking nobles are visiting, which means everyone's workload just doubled in the desperate attempt to impress people who are probably just as disgusting as your local hog lord, only richer. Banquets are serious business, growls Brutus, looking even crankier than usual. If anything goes wrong, it's not just a whipping, it's death. Visitors can't know we're incompetent. And we are incompetent? You ask, trying to sound innocent. Of course we're incompetent, you idiot. We just can't let them find out. Medieval logic again. Incompetence is fine. Just keep it subtle. Your first job, help decorate the Grand Hall, which is being upgraded from tragically filthy to majestically filthy. You and other eunuchs dangle from ropes, scraping centuries of grime off chandeliers that haven't been cleaned since the Crusades. Don't fall, Felix warns from the rope next to yours. If you break something, they'll hang you up as decoration instead. What do you mean, decoration? On the wall, like a hunting trophy. Seen it before. Adds a certain ambiance. You clutch your rope tighter. Being repurposed as medieval interior design was not on your bucket list. From up high, you see the chaos below. Dozens of servants running around, hauling furniture, barking contradictory orders, and occasionally fist-fighting over protocol. "Why's everyone so panicked?" you shout to Felix. "Because the guest is the Duke of some important shithole," he shouts back. If he's unhappy, our Lord could lose land, titles, maybe even his head. And if our Lord loses his head, what happens to us? We become the property of the guy who chopped it off, if we're lucky. And if we're not lucky? Fertilizer for his garden. Outstanding. Your retirement plan keeps getting better. After surviving chandelier duty, without being redecorated as wall art, thank God, you're reassigned to the kitchen, which looks like a war zone. Knives are flying, people are screaming about spices, and at least 3 cooks are crying over burnt essentials. "You're on the boar," the head cook barks, pointing to a carcass that looks like it fought a small war before dying. "Don't fuck it up, or I'll use you for stuffing." Apparently, roast boar is the star of tonight's menu, and you're responsible for making the stuffing. Problem: no one bothered to teach you how to stuff a boar, and winging it in medieval cuisine is a potential death sentence. "What the fuck do I put in this thing?" you ask a eunuch wrestling with a chicken. "Herbs, dried fruit, stale bread? Basically anything that smells decent," he replies without looking up. "And pray it works. If it doesn't, we're going on the spit too." So you improvise, mixing random shit together and hoping you don't accidentally invent poison. It's like high school chemistry, only the explosions are edible. Meanwhile, chatter about the incoming guest circulates. The Duke is infamous for his creative cruelty, refined taste in torture, and a habit of executing people for offenses like breathing too loud or having the wrong hair color. "This guy's a psychopath," you mutter. "Psychopath?" The chicken eunuch laughs. "Buddy, he's a noble. Psychopathy's a job requirement. If he wasn't insane, nobody would respect him." Fair point. In a society where money excuses everything, psychosis is basically considered charisma. After nearly burning down the kitchen twice, oversalting, undersalting, and then salting the right dish but the wrong way, the boar is finally finished. Showtime. You're tapped as one of the servers, which means face-to-face with the legendary Duke Psycho. Terrifying, yes, but also fascinating to see how someone could actually make Godfrey look normal. The Duke arrives in a carriage dripping with stolen church gold and gemstones. He's thin, pale, with eyes like empty pits, and a smile that could unsettle demons. His entourage includes heavily armed guards, trembling nobles, and, no shit, a guy lugging what looks like a fancy leather case of torture tools. "Welcome, Your Excellency." Godfrey bows so low you think he might snap in half. "It's an honor to host you in my humble castle." "Humble," the Duke repeats, sneering at the hall. "Yes, humble. Almost pathetically so. Godfrey sweats so much you could fill a moat. For a second, you almost pity him. Almost." The banquet begins, and serving food to a psychopath proves uniquely horrifying. The Duke doesn't eat. He investigates each dish like it's part of a murder trial, sniffs it like he expects poison, then drops comments that range from casual insults to direct death threats. "This wine," he says, swirling it, "tastes like poorly planned revenge." Intriguing. Godfrey chuckles nervously, not sure if that's a compliment or foreshadowing. Your first direct encounter comes while serving the boar. The tray wobbles as your hands shake, making the roast jiggle hypnotically. The Duke stares straight at you. "Fascinating," he murmurs, studying you like a rare insect. "A new eunuch. I can still see fresh desperation in your eyes. Delicious." You say nothing, because what the hell can you say to that? "You know," he continues, slicing into the meat, "I collect eunuchs. I've got some rare ones. One cut at 6 years old, one who lost his jewels in a bet, one who did it voluntarily for God. All very intriguing. He chews thoughtfully, then adds, "You'd make an interesting addition. You look like you suffer creatively." Collection? Collection? This man hoards eunuchs like baseball cards, and apparently your misery face is collector's edition? "The thank you, Your Excellency," you stammer, praying he doesn't mean it. "Oh, not a compliment," he smirks coldly. "A scientific observation. I may make an offer for you." Godfrey nearly faints into the soup. The rest of the night is a blur of terror. You serve dishes, clean messes, and try to stay invisible while the Duke critiques literally everything. The decor, too cheerful, the music, too optimistic, even the air smells too much like hope. How the hell does someone hate air? Then comes the grand finale. Drunk and bored, the Duke demands displays of loyalty from the eunuchs, which apparently translates to public humiliation theater. "You," he points at you, "dance." Dance? You can barely walk without tripping over your trauma? And now he wants choreography? I don't know how to dance, Your Excellency." "Perfect," he claps. "Bad dances are the funniest. Begin." What follows is less dance and more civilization collapsing in real time. A mix of nervous spasms, awkward stomps, and pure desperation. The nobles roar with laughter, the eunuchs pity stare, and the Duke beams like a man watching Rome burn from the balcony. "Magnificent," he says, applauding mockingly, "like watching the fall of empires, but with rhythm. Delightful." Eventually, mercifully, the banquet ends. The Duke leaves, without making a formal bid for you, thank Christ. His entourage shuffles out like whipped puppies, and the castle sinks back into its usual controlled misery. "Congrats," Marcus tells you as you mop the wreckage. You survived your first encounter with a true psychopath. "Godfrey doesn't count?" you ask. "Godfrey's just a fat asshole." "That guy? That guy's an artist of cruelty. Whole different league." You collapse onto your straw bed, body wrecked, soul shredded. 5 days into eunuch life, and you've faced literal shit. Homicidal horses, depraved nobles, and now a eunuch collector with a flair for sadism. "What else could possibly happen?" you whisper to the rotten ceiling. Big mistake. Never, never ask what else could happen in a place like this. That's basically daring the universe to fuck you personally. And medieval life loves a challenge. You wake up on day 6 with a headache that feels like a blacksmith's hammer is pounding directly on your skull. That would be par for the course in your current lifestyle, but today there's something extra. Voices. Lots of voices. And none of them sound happy. "Get up, you worms!" someone bellows outside the dorm. "Today is different." Different? In your current dictionary, different translates to a new and creative way to suffer. You drag yourself upright with the speed of an arthritic snail, trying to figure out what fresh hell is brewing. "What the hell's going on?" you whisper to Marcus, who looks just as confused as you. "No clue. Judging by the noise, either important visitors, someone's dead, or we're all about to die." He shrugs, with his trademark eunuch optimism. The answer comes crashing in the form of Brutus, storming into the dorm like an enraged bull, followed by heavily armed soldiers who look like they woke up itching to stab someone. "Listen up, you miserable sacks of shit!" Brutus roars, spraying spit like a busted hose. "The king is visiting today. That's right, the king. And if any of you fuck up, I will personally string your guts into guitar strings." The king? The fucking king? You can barely survive regular nobles. How the hell are you supposed to deal with royalty? This is like skipping straight from fighting goblins to facing an ancient dragon. Why's the king coming here? Felix asks, either bravely or stupidly. Because he wants to, you moron! Brutus screams, wielding medieval logic like a club. And when the king wants something, we do it, even if it's impossible, illegal, or physically contradictory. The soldiers herd all the eunuchs into military-style lines, like they're inspecting an army of dirt. You line up next to Marcus, trying to look invisible, which is tough when you're trembling like a leaf in a hurricane. You're being split into groups, Brutus barks. Group 1, extreme cleaning. Group 2, emergency kitchen. Group 3, direct service to the king. And Group 4. He pauses for dramatic effect. Entertainment! Entertainment? Entertainment! You've got the entertainment skills of a damp rock. Lucky, unlucky you. You're shoved into Group 2. Emergency kitchen. That means prepping a royal banquet. Perfect, flawless, and fit to impress someone who's already eaten at every top-tier table in the kingdom. No pressure, you mutter. The kitchen is pure chaos. It's like someone set a normal kitchen on fire, then tried to put it out by adding more fire. People are sprinting everywhere, lugging ingredients you didn't know existed, shouting orders in what may or may not be human languages, and occasionally collapsing into nervous breakdowns. You! The head cook screeches, stabbing a finger at you like you're on trial. Help with the swan. Swan? What the fuck kind of swan? You're dragged to a table where a bird the size of a small turkey lies plucked and ready for trauma. Apparently, roast swan is royal cuisine, and you're in charge of making it worthy of the crown. How do you even cook swan? You ask the eunuch supervising. Same as chicken, he grunts, but with more anxiety. Screw it up, and we're all dead. No pressure. So you get to work on the swan, a surreal experience. It's bigger than expected. The feathers cling like they're glued on, and the neck is so long you feel like you're prepping a winged snake. Why swan? You ask while yanking out a particularly stubborn quill. Because it's rich people food, he explains. The harder it is to get, the more expensive. The more expensive, the more impressive. The more impressive, the less chance we die for incompetence. Medieval food logic, flawless in its own insane way. Rumors swirl as you wrestle the bird. Supposedly the king is a military genius, or completely batshit insane, depending on who you ask. Consensus: homicidal tendencies and a disturbing taste for public entertainment. Saw him once, says an older eunuch marinating something that looks like swamp sludge. He executed a guy because he didn't like his beard color. Said orange was treacherous. Orange is treacherous, you ask. According to him. He's got a whole color theory. Green is cowardice, blue is betrayal, purple is witchcraft, and yellow? Don't wear yellow. Great. Now, you're not only terrified of what you say, but also of what you wear. Luckily, your outfit is brown, the official color of misery. So you're safe. 3 grueling hours later, the swan's finally cooked. It looks edible. Maybe not Michelin star material, but at least not like a failed science experiment. Not bad, the head cook admits, inspecting it. Looks like it won't kill anyone. That's better than I expected. Inspirational as always. Your next job, setting the royal table beyond human perfection. That means polishing dishes until they blind you, lining up silverware with military precision, and folding napkins into swan shapes. This napkin should look like a swan, insists the eunuch napkin master. Not like that. Like this. See the difference? You don't, To you, both look like tortured cloth birds, but apparently there's a huge gap between majestic swan and constipated duck. Meanwhile, rumors spread that the king's already at the castle, with a retinue of 100, including nobles, soldiers, artists, and, oh yeah, 3 professional executioners, because apparently one isn't enough. 3, you whisper. Yeah, Marcus says, polishing a goblet like his life depends on it. 1 for quick decapitations, 1 for slow ones, and 1 for alternative methods. The king likes variety. How thoughtful. Diversity matters, even in death. At last, the king enters, and instantly you understand why everyone's shitting bricks. He's not tall, not jacked, but his presence crushes the room. His eyes scan like a predator cataloging prey, and his smile makes children cry and adults rethink immigration. What a charming place, he says, glancing around like he's touring a slaughterhouse. Very rustic. Godfrey sweats rivers, bowing so low he might actually bury himself alive. Your Majesty is too kind, he stammers. We pray this humble feast pleases you. Oh, I'm sure it'll be memorable, the king replies, his tone enough to make every eunuch clench. Dinner begins, and serving him feels like defusing a bomb while tiptoeing across a tightrope over a pit of crocodiles. Every plate must be perfect. Every move exact. One slip, creative death. Your turn comes with the swan. You approach, tray trembling just enough to make the roasted bird wobble obscenely. The king stares at you. Interesting, he says, studying you like a lab rat. A young eunuch. I can see the fresh terror in your eyes. Delicious. Why do all these assholes comment on your eyes? They're just traumatized eyes. You prepared this swan? The king asks, slicing a piece with surgical precision. Yes, your majesty, you squeak. With help, of course. The king chews thoughtfully, and the silence is so thick you can hear your heart thudding like a war drum. Interesting, he finally says. It tastes like fear. My favorite seasoning. Cool. Totally fine. You'll take that as a win. The rest of the meal is pure agony. The king critiques everything. Decor, too cheerful. Weather, too sunny. I prefer storms. Even the air smells too hopeful. How the fuck does someone hate air? Then comes the grand finale. Royal entertainment, which translates to eunuch humiliation, but with the stakes cranked to 11. You, the king points at some poor bastard, sing me a sad song. The eunuch sings a tragic ballad, but the king stops him halfway. Sadder, he demands. I want everyone here ready to kill themselves. The song becomes so depressing, you're legit eyeing the nearest window. Perfect, the king claps. Now you, he points at another eunuch, tell me a joke. A joke? After a suicide soundtrack? Good luck, buddy. The eunuch tries, fails, and the king frowns. Not funny, he declares. You know what is funny? Irony. Like someone failing to be funny, when failing is literally fatal. Everyone fake laughs like their lives depend on it, because they do. Somehow, miraculously, the dinner ends without public executions. The king leaves with his entourage and 3 disappointed executioners, and the castle slumps back into its usual controlled misery. Congrats, Marcus mutters as you clean the wreckage. We survived the king. That's worth celebrating, if we had anything worth celebrating. You collapse onto your straw bed, soul hollowed out. 6 days of eunuch hell, and you've faced depraved nobles, homicidal horses, eunuch collectors, and now the king himself. At least it can't get worse. you whisper to the rotten ceiling. Fatal mistake. Never, ever say it can't get worse in medieval times. That's like sending the universe a written invitation to fuck you personally. And this universe always RSVPs. You wake up on day 7 with a strange realization. You're not dead. Considering the week you've had, that's basically a miracle. Your muscles ache like you went 12 rounds with a dragon and lost. Your brain feels shattered like glass under a boot, but technically, you're alive. In this context, that counts as a full-blown victory. Dude, you look like a corpse that forgot to die, Marcus says cheerfully, showcasing his natural gift for motivational speeches. I feel worse than that, you groan, trying to figure out which part of your body hurts the most. It's a close race between your back, still shredded from whippings, your feet, wrecked from non-stop labor, and your soul, completely annihilated. Well, today, you'll feel even worse. Felix strolls in with what can only be bad news. Congrats! You've been selected for a special mission. Special mission? In your current vocabulary, that's code for a new, elaborate way to die. By now, you're deeply suspicious of anything labeled special. What kind of mission, you ask, dreading the answer even more than you dreaded the king's visit. You're accompanying Lord Godfrey on a business trip to another castle, Felix explains with a grin that inspires zero confidence. It's a great honor. A great honor. Right. Because traveling through medieval hell with a fat, irritable noble is exactly the stuff your dreams were made of. Especially when business trip probably means opportunity to die in new and exotic locations. How long, you ask, bracing for the horror. 3 weeks, maybe a month. Depends how many castles he wants to visit, and how many people he needs to impress, intimidate, or execute. 3 weeks to a month? On the road? With Godfrey? You'd rather shovel horse shit for the rest of your natural life. At least that crap stays in one place. Can I refuse? Of course, Felix chuckles. If you'd like to be executed for insubordination. Totally your call. Road trip with Lord Lardas or public execution as castle decor. What a tough choice. Immediate death or slow-motion misery. The Eunuch career ladder really offers variety. An hour later, you're outside the castle with your luggage, which includes 2 hideous sets of clothes, 1 blanket, older than your trauma, and a sack of food that looks like it was packed for post-apocalyptic survival. Godfrey hauls himself into a carriage groaning under his bulk, barking contradictory orders at everyone in earshot. Where are my silk robes? And my special shoes? And my custom pillow? Apparently, Godfrey travels with more baggage than a Kardashian divorce. He's got at least 6 wagons just for his personal needs, including one dedicated to his hat collection. Yes, he collects hats. And another full of his medicinal supplies, which smell suspiciously like moonshine. You're in the servant cart, a soldier tells you, pointing at a contraption clearly designed by someone who hated the concept of human comfort. And try not to die on the way. Burying people roadside is a pain in the ass. The servant cart is a masterclass in anti-ergonomic design. The benches are raw wood, hacked with a blunt axe. There's no roof or walls to block wind or rain, and the floor is coated in straw, crawling with life forms you'd rather not identify. Welcome to mobile hell, mutters another eunuch, lucky enough to be on this trip. He introduces himself as Gaius, wearing the permanent expression of a man who gave up long ago. First trip? Yeah, hopefully last. Oh, sweet summer child, Gaius chuckles bitterly. This is my 5th trip with the Lord. And trust me, each one gets worse. Worse how? Well, first trip, we only had bandits, rotten food, and constant rain. Second trip, we added a dysentery outbreak. Third, river pirates. Fourth, peasant revolt and a forest fire. I can't wait to see what this one brings. Inspirational. You're basically starring in a medieval Final Destination franchise. The journey begins, and you quickly discover that medieval road travel is a torture method that really should have been banned by the Geneva Convention, if it existed. Every pothole launches you into the air like a ping-pong ball trapped in a wooden crate. Every sharp turn threatens to yeet you onto the roadside. By hour 2, you're positive your organs have changed zip codes. How do you stand this? You yell over the racket to Gaius. Practice, he yells back. And lots of resignation. 2 hours, that felt like 2 centuries. Later, you stop at an inn that makes the castle look like a luxury spa. It's a collapsing shack of rotting timber. The roof leaks like a sieve. The walls sway in the wind, and the smell suggests somebody died here weeks ago and no one bothered to move the body. Charming, Godfrey says sarcastically, climbing down with all the grace of an arthritic hippo. Hope the food's better than the decor. Spoiler, it's not. Dinner consists of something that might have been meat, bread sturdy enough to double as a medieval mace, and a suspiciously colored beverage that burns your throat and makes you rethink your life choices. You eat because hunger trumps dignity, but every bite is a gamble between starvation and food poisoning. This meat tastes weird, you whisper to Gaius. Best not to ask what animal it was, he says dryly. Hell, best not to ask if it was an animal. Reassuring. During the meal, you overhear travelers gossiping. The roads are especially dangerous lately. Organized bandits, starving wolves, and whispers of something called the Black Plague spreading through nearby towns. Black Plague? You ask, terrified but curious. A sickness that kills everyone in a few days, says a grizzled merchant. Started in the ports, spreading fast. 9 out of 10 die. 9 out of 10? Those are worse odds than a Vegas slot machine rigged by the mob. And there's no cure? Cure? The merchant laughs bitterly. Buddy, we can barely fix a scraped knee. A plague that kills in days? The only cure is praying and hoping for a quick death. Medieval medicine, always inspirational. That night, you try to sleep in a room you share with too many strangers, on a bed stuffed with God knows what, while rain leaks through the ceiling and something with claws scuttles under the floorboards. Welcome to your new nightmare, the Medieval Road Trip Edition. You wake up on day 8, second day of this nightmare road trip, with back pain that makes a 90-year-old look like an Olympic gymnast. Sleeping in a medieval inn bed is basically like lying down on a pile of jagged rocks wrapped in a blanket that once doubled as a corpse shroud. And the smell? Oh, the smell is a full symphony of rancid sweat, fermented piss, and something you really hope is just very old cheese. Morning, sunshine, Gaius says, somehow chipper despite sleeping in the same hellhole. Sleep well? No giant flea attacks? Didn't catch some exotic medieval disease? Not yet, you mutter, checking your arms for suspicious bites. But hey, the day's still young. Optimism. Love that in a eunuch doomed to a slow death. Motivational as ever. Gaius really ought to do TED Talks at funerals. Breakfast is another round of questionable food and a hot drink that tastes like dirty water mixed with crushed dreams. You choke it down because you need the energy to survive what promises to be yet another traveling torture session. How long to the next castle, you ask, forcing yourself not to gag. 2 days if we don't die, Gaius answers cheerfully. 3 days if we die a little. A week if we die a lot. Medieval death math. Fascinating and terrifying. Stage 2 of the trip begins with Godfrey having a full-on meltdown about his luggage. Apparently, one of his hat boxes is making a weird noise, and he's convinced someone is sabotaging his hat collection. "Someone touched my hats," he screams, shaking the box that's rattling suspiciously. "This is treason, sabotage, an anti-hat conspiracy." An anti-hat conspiracy. Yes, clearly the biggest threat in medieval politics. You get assigned to investigate the crime, because apparently cleaning shit qualifies you as head detective. You open the box to find the culprit, a very fat rat, happily nesting in Godfrey's precious hats. "It's a rat, my lord," you report, holding the squirming bastard up by the tail. "A rat?" Godfrey turns red as a tomato. "A rat dares to violate my hats?" The rat stares back at you like, "Bro, we both know you're the one most screwed in this situation." For a second, you feel solidarity across species. Then you remember you don't get a choice. "Sorry, buddy," you whisper, before, well, solving the problem in the only way available. "Justice!" Godfrey bellows triumphantly, as if he just defeated an invading army instead of one homeless rodent. The journey continues, and you quickly learn medieval roads are just minefields of suffering. Craters big enough to swallow carts, loose rocks that turn every corner into Russian roulette, and random fallen trees that block the way and require grunt labor to clear. "Why don't they just build better roads?" you ask Gaius, shoving at a log. "Because roads cost money," he grunts back. "And money's for important things, like wars, bigger castles, and hat collections." Medieval priorities, always logical in their total illogic. While wrestling with a particularly stubborn log, disaster strikes. Bandits. They pop out from behind the trees, armed with rusty knives, ancient bows, and way too much confidence for dudes who look like malnourished hobos. "Stand and deliver!" shouts their leader, a skinny guy with a scraggly beard and dental work clearly done by Satan. "This is a robbery." "A robbery? Really? You're being robbed by guys who somehow look worse off than you. That's like getting mugged by the homeless guy you were about to give a sandwich to." "Hand over all valuables," the leader barks, waving his dull knife. Godfrey, who waddles out of the carriage to see the commotion, takes one look at them and bursts out laughing. "You?" he howls, wiping tears from his eyes. "You think you can rob someone? You don't look capable of robbing a dead chicken." The bandits look deeply insulted. "Hey, we're serious bandits," their leader protests. "We've robbed, lots of people." "How many?" Godfrey presses, grinning. "Plenty. Like, more than, some." Confidence level. Nosediving. "You know what?" Godfrey decides. "You losers are so pathetic I'll make you an offer. Fight my eunuchs. If you win, you get half my luggage. If you lose, you work for me. No pay." "Fight? Fight?" You can barely carry a bucket without throwing out your back. "Sir," you protest, "I don't know how to fight." "Perfect." Godfrey claps his greasy hands. "Even more entertaining." The bandits hesitate, unsure if they should feel insulted or relieved. "Fine," the leader says, "but if we win, we want all the luggage." "Deal," Godfrey says, grinning like a kid watching clowns fight at a birthday party. And so you find yourself about to duel medieval bandits on a dusty road, armed only with incompetence and a desperate desire not to die. The battle that follows could generously be called pathetic theater. You and Gaius versus 3 bandits who are somehow just as bad at fighting as you are. It's like watching kids play sword fight, except with higher odds of accidental death. Your opponent is a short guy holding his knife like it's a venomous snake about to bite him. You arm yourself with a stick you found on the ground, and what follows is less combat and more awkward interpretive dance. "Come at me!" the bandit shouts, waving the knife. "No thanks," you yell back, jabbing with the stick to keep him away. "That's not how robbery works." "I don't know how robbery works. I clean shit for a living." The bandit stops, confused. "You clean shit?" "Yes. Horse shit, noble shit, sometimes swan shit. That's honestly depressing." "I know!" The two of you share a moment of existential misery. "You know what?" the bandit sighs. "Maybe banditry isn't for me. This is exhausting." "Try farming," you suggest. Or literally anything that doesn't involve threatening people with butter knives. Meanwhile, the other bandits are having similar career talks with Gaius and another eunuch. The would-be robbers stop, look at each other, and start nodding. "He's right," one admits. "This outlaw stuff's too damn hard." "And dangerous," another adds. "We don't even have real armor." Godfrey, watching this comedy unfold, is visibly disappointed. "Where's the blood? The brutality? You idiots are debating job options." "Sorry, sir," you say sheepishly. "We found a peaceful solution." "Peaceful?" Godfrey frowns. "Where's the fun in peaceful?" But surprisingly, he agrees to hire the ex-bandits as extra guards. Probably because he finds it hilarious to have guards somehow worse at fighting than his eunuchs. "Welcome to the crew," he declares. "Now we officially have the worst guards in medieval history." And just like that, your caravan grows by 3 useless ex-bandits. Somehow, this ragtag circus of eunuchs, idiots, and one obese noble keeps rolling forward. "This is all insane," you mutter to Gaius as the cart rattles down the road. "Welcome to medieval life," he replies philosophically. "Nothing makes sense, but at least the nonsense is consistent." That night, you crash at another inn, this one even shittier than the last. The building looks designed by someone who hated comfort as an art form. "Cozy," one of the ex-bandits mutters sarcastically. "You ain't seen nothin' yet," Gaius chuckles. "Wait till you taste dinner." Dinner turns out to be a religious experience in the sense that you pray it won't kill you. Some kind of stew from a past life, bread dense enough for construction material, and a drink that tastes like mud auditioning to be beer. "Is this even edible?" one ex-bandit asks, sniffing the stew. "Technically," you say, "as in, it probably won't kill you instantly." Probably? Medieval food safety. It's all about hope and luck. Over dinner, you overhear more rumors. The Black Plague is spreading faster than expected. Whole villages abandoned. Merchants swear they've seen walking corpses on the roads. "Walking corpses?" you ask, horrified but intrigued. "People who died of the plague but keep moving," one sleepless merchant whispers. "They attacked the living." "That's ridiculous," Godfrey scoffs. "Dead men don't walk. That's scientifically impossible." "Medieval science," Gaius mutters to you, "is more like guidelines." You go to bed with your head buzzing, plague, zombies, and the gnawing certainty that this trip's about to get way more interesting than you'd ever want. "At least it can't get worse," you whisper, before falling asleep. Big mistake. Never say that out loud in this timeline. You wake up on day 9 to someone screaming, "Zombies! Zombies on the road!" Your first thought is, "Oh, for fuck's sake, I didn't even finish my nightmare yet." Then you realize you're not dreaming. Someone is actually yelling about zombies, and that's not exactly great news for your already shaky life expectancy. "Get up, man! Gaius shakes you violently. "We've got unwanted company." You drag yourself to the window of the inn. Out on the road, lit by the dim morning light, at least a dozen shambling figures are staggering toward you. They walk like drunkards in slow motion, moan like constipated donkeys, and look exactly like people who are very clearly dead. But nobody bothered to tell them. "Holy shit," you mutter. "They're real." "Real and hungry," one of the ex-bandits says, peeking out the next window. "And rumor is, they eat human flesh." Human flesh? Human flesh? As if your life wasn't fucked enough, now you've got to worry about cannibal zombies? Medieval life has the worst sense of humor. "Everybody calm down," Godfrey bellows, storming out of his room, wearing only a nightgown that makes him look like a walking circus tent. "They're just sick peasants. A little discipline, and they'll crawl back where they belong." Sir," Gaius tries explaining diplomatically, "peasants don't normally groan like that, or walk around ignoring fatal wounds." "Nonsense," Godfrey snaps. "You're being melodramatic. I'll deal with them myself." Before anyone can stop him, Godfrey waddles to the inn's front door and throws it open with authority. What follows is a masterclass in why fat nobles should not confront zombies without adult supervision. "You there!" Godfrey bellows at the shamblers. "I am Lord Godfrey of some place important. Identify yourselves immediately." The zombies freeze. For one glorious moment, silence. Then one lets out a sound somewhere between a groan, a belch, and maybe a failed attempt at speech. "Grrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr Where are your papers, your credentials, your respect for the nobility? The zombie cocks its head like a confused dog, then shuffles toward him with what looks a lot like culinary interest. Keep your distance, Godfrey commands, still under the impression zombies recognize feudal law. I have rights. That's when you realize you've gotta intervene. Because if Godfrey gets eaten, you'll technically die too. Eunuchs are property, and when the Lord dies, property usually gets buried with him. Also, as much as you hate him, Godfrey's still better company than a pack of cannibal corpses. "My lord," you yell, running outside armed with the first thing you found, a broom with a broken handle. Maybe a strategic retreat? Retreat? Godfrey scoffs. I do not retreat. I am a noble. Right on cue, the nearest zombie lurches faster, arms reaching for Godfrey with a very obvious dinner plate vibe. Godfrey finally processes the situation. Ah, he mutters, perhaps a strategic retreat is appropriate. What follows can only be described as comedic horror. Godfrey running, translation, moving at the pace of an arthritic snail, while being chased by zombies who themselves move like arthritic snails, only slightly faster. It's basically slow-motion Benny Hill with higher stakes. "Help me!" Godfrey wheezes after 3 whole meters of sprinting. You, Gaius, and the ex-bandit scramble out, armed with whatever's at hand. Brooms, wooden sticks, 1 frying pan, and in the case of one ex-bandit, just a shoe. Don't ask why. Apparently, he thought footwear counts as a weapon. "What do we do?" the ex-bandit with the shoe yells, brandishing it like Excalibur with a foot fetish. You wake up on day 10 still trying to process the fact that you survived a zombie attack with nothing but a broken broom and aggressive incompetence. Yesterday's battle wasn't epic. It was pathetic slapstick. You literally beat supernatural creatures through sheer dumb luck. 1 zombie tripped on a rock, Another got distracted by an ex-bandit's shoe. Apparently, zombies have a thing for footwear. And a third just gave up and wandered off, probably realizing you were too pathetic to be worth the effort. "Morning, hero," Gaius says sarcastically as you crawl out of your flea-ridden straw bed. "How's it feel to be the incompetent savior of a fat noble?" "Feels like I should have let the zombies eat him," you mutter, rubbing a kink in your neck from sleeping in a position that defies human anatomy. "At least then, I'd be free from this road trip from hell." "Ah, but then you'd be executed for negligence," Gaius cheerfully reminds you. "Letting your lord get eaten by zombies counts as high treason. Punishment. Creative death." Creative death. Because regular death wasn't bad enough, medieval people had to add artistic flair. Breakfast at the inn is somehow worse than usual, if physics even allows that. Turns out, the zombie scare made local food suppliers bail. So now you're stuck eating emergency rations. Bread solid enough for construction material, cheese that's developed its own thriving microbial civilization, and something that might have been meat back in the Jurassic era. "This bread tastes like despair," you comment, trying to chew what technically qualifies as food. "At least it tastes like something," says one of the ex-bandits, wrestling with the living cheese. "Last week, when we were still bandits, we ate tree bark for 3 days." "How'd you guys even become bandits?" you ask, genuinely curious. "Family business," he says proudly. "My dad was a bandit, my granddad was a bandit, his dad was a bandit. It's an honorable tradition." "And how's that tradition working out for you?" "Well, considering we were starving to death when you found us, not great." At least they're self-aware. Then Godfrey waddles in for breakfast, dressed in an outfit that probably cost more than the GDP of a small country, but makes him look like an obese peacock with low self-esteem. Still shaken from the zombie encounter, he dramatically insists on thanking you. "My savior," he cries, crushing you in a rib-cracking hug. "You risked your life to save mine. The noblest act I've ever witnessed." Technically, you risked your life because you had no choice. And noble isn't the word you'd use for whacking zombies with a broomstick. But fine, you'll take the praise. It's not like positive recognition comes easy in your current life. "It was nothing, my lord," you wheeze inside the suffocating embrace. "Nothing?" Godfrey gasps, theatrically offended. "You saved a noble's life. That's everything. You deserve a reward." "A reward? An actual reward?" For the first time in 10 days, something good might happen. "What kind of reward, my lord?" "I promote you," Godfrey declares proudly. "From cleaning eunuch to personal eunuch. You're now responsible for all my personal needs." All. His personal needs, including the ones you desperately don't want to think about. Your reward is basically a promotion to a worse job. "What? An honor," you manage to say, smiling with the sincerity of a politician on campaign. "And more," Godfrey continues, thrilled. "You'll sleep in my chamber from now on, to protect me from zombies." Sleeping in the same room as Godfrey, listening to him snore, fart, and make every noise a fat noble makes at night. Your reward just keeps getting better. "You're too generous, my lord," you lie smoothly, surprising even yourself with your ability to fake gratitude. The trip continues with this new dynamic. On top of everything else, you're now on call 24/7 for Godfrey's every whim. That means helping him dress, a process involving gallons of sweat, fabric battles, and screams of frustration. Helping him eat, he can't hold utensils without spilling half his meal. And helping him with natural needs, a euphemism for activities that will haunt your nightmares forever. "How do you deal with this?" Gaius asks during a break, watching you stagger out of Godfrey's carriage looking like a hurricane survivor. Mental dissociation, you explain philosophically. I just pretend I'm somewhere else, like in a world where having balls is still an option. Miss 'em? Every damn day. By afternoon, you reach the first destination of the trip, castle of some place even more depressing than home. It's a fortress that makes Godfrey's castle look like Versailles. Grayer walls, crooked towers, and an aura of everyone here gave up on life years ago. Cozy, one ex-bandit says. Looks like a cemetery tried to cosplay as a castle, another adds. The lord of this gloomy fortress is, fittingly, Lord Melancholy. Yes, that's his real name. He looks like he was born sad and only doubled down with age. He greets Godfrey with the enthusiasm of a man receiving news of his own funeral. Godfrey, he sighs, voice straight out of a tomb. What? Unexpected joy. Melancholy, my old friend, Godfrey says with fake cheer. How's business? Terrible, Melancholy replies with refreshing honesty. The plague killed half my peasants. The other half ran away. My wife left me for a spice merchant, and my eldest son became a monk, because he said our family is too depressing to exist. Ah, Godfrey stammers. Well, at least you still have your health? No, Melancholy deadpans. I'm dying too. Doctors say 3 months, 4 if I stop eating. This conversation is heading into very specific, very uncomfortable territory. Dinner at Castle Melancholy is best described as a gastronomic funeral. Every dish is prepared and served like a last meal. The servants move like ghosts. The eunuchs look permanently in mourning, and even the castle dogs seem depressed. This soup tastes like tears, you whisper to another eunuch. That's because it is, he replies. The cook cries while making it, says it adds emotional depth to the flavor. Emotional cuisine. Medieval times really had everything. During dinner, Godfrey tries to strike up business with Melancholy, but it's hard to negotiate when every answer boils down to, what's the point? We're all dying anyway. You wake up on the 11th day in Lord Melancholy's castle, in a bedroom somehow more depressing than a cemetery during a solar eclipse. The walls are gray, the bed creaks like old bones, and the air carries a permanent smell of sadness. Even waking up here is an existential challenge. Morning, you mutter to yourself, because apparently you've developed the habit of talking to yourself as a defense mechanism against insanity. There is nothing good about this morning, a depressed voice answers. You glance around and notice another eunuch in the room, sitting in a corner like a piece of tragic decor. Hey, you say. Well, I don't even know who I am anymore. Godfrey's eunuch. I'm Gloom, he replies in a voice that sounds like it crawled out of a well. Personal eunuch to Lord Melancholy for 15 years. Each day has been worse than the last. 15 years? 15 years working for the most depressing man of the Middle Ages? This eunuch must have monk-level mental resilience. How do you even cope, you ask, genuinely curious about survival strategies in hardcore depression zones? Drugs, Gloom answers bluntly. Special herbs that make everything foggy. Without them, I'd have jumped from the North Tower 10 years ago. Medieval self-medication. Some things never change. Breakfast in Castle Melancholy is served in absolute silence, like everyone's attending an eternal funeral. The food is technically edible, but prepared and served with such lifelessness that it feels like you're eating condensed sadness. Why is everything here so gloomy? You ask Gloom, who's chewing bread with the energy of someone serving a life sentence. Lord Melancholy believes joy is frivolous, he explains in a monotone. Any display of happiness is punished with extra work or forced fasting. Result, everyone here developed chronic depression as a survival strategy. That's completely insane. Welcome to medieval nobility, where sanity is optional and usually discouraged. After breakfast, you're dragged along to join Godfrey in an important business meeting with Lord Melancholy. The meeting takes place in a chamber decorated by someone violently allergic to natural light and any color not named gray. Melancholy, Godfrey begins, trying to sound professional despite the oppressive gloom. I've come to propose a very profitable partnership. Profitable! Melancholy repeats the word like it's an alien concept. Why would I want profit? Profit brings responsibility. Responsibility brings problems. Problems bring suffering. But profit also brings wealth, Godfrey tries. Wealth brings comfort. Comfort is an illusion, Melancholy replies philosophically. In the end, we all die alone and miserable. Wealth only delays the inevitable. This business meeting is going exactly as expected, straight into an existential abyss. Fine, Godfrey pivots. What if I told you the partnership would help you suffer more efficiently? Melancholy's eyes actually brighten a little, which is still very dim compared to a normal human. Go on, he says, showing the first flicker of interest. Well, Godfrey improvises, with more resources, you could, build taller towers to better contemplate the insignificance of existence? Interesting, Melancholy muses. And perhaps deeper dungeons for meditating on the futility of human ambition? Exactly, Godfrey agrees, thrilled to have found common ground in architectural pessimism. You watch this surreal negotiation with morbid fascination. It's like two people trying to understand each other while speaking different languages. One is fat optimism, the other is chronic existential despair. While the lords mope bargain, gloom gives you a tour. The castle is basically a museum of medieval sadness. Corridors designed to echo sighs, windows positioned to maximize melancholy light, and portraits of people who all look like they're crying on the inside. That one, Gloom points to a particularly grim painting, is the late lady of the house. She jumped from the North Tower in their 3rd year of marriage. Jesus, why? She said she couldn't live in a place where even the plants looked depressed. You glance around. Sure enough, even the castle plants look like they've given up on photosynthesis. And that portrait over there? The eldest son, before he became a monk. Look at the eyes. You can see the exact moment he lost the will to live. True enough. The guy in the painting looks like he just realized life is a cruel prank with no punchline. The library isn't any brighter. Every single book is on cheerful topics like treatises on the inevitability of death, philosophies of hopelessness, and 1001 ways to stare into the void. Lord Melancholy is an intellectual, Gloom explains. He believes knowledge only exists to remind us how ignorant we are about our own insignificance. That's deeply messed up, or deeply honest. Depends on perspective. That afternoon, you witness the impossible. Lord Melancholy trying to have fun. He organizes what he calls appropriate entertainment, which consists of eunuchs reciting poems about death, loneliness, and the futility of ambition. Magnificent, he praises, after a particularly bleak poem about a man who spent his life building sandcastles. I felt my soul wither a little more. Excellent work. This man has turned depression into an art form. The day peaks at dinner, when Godfrey, already half-drunk and apparently inspired by the ambiance, launches into his own philosophy. "You know, melancholy," he slurs. "Sometimes I think, maybe overeating is just my way of filling the existential void in my soul." "Interesting hypothesis," Melancholy says, genuinely intrigued. "Go on." "Maybe every meal is just a desperate attempt to find meaning in a universe that refuses to answer." "Fascinating. And obesity, then, is the physical manifestation of the spiritual obesity of the human condition." You are now watching two medieval nobles share an epiphany about food and existential despair. The Middle Ages are stranger than you ever imagined. "And you eunuchs," Godfrey suddenly turns to you all, "you lost the ability to procreate, but gained the ability to contemplate life without the distraction of desire." "It's true!" Melancholy claps with morbid excitement. "You're involuntary monks, castrated sages, philosophers by anatomical accident." Philosophers by anatomical accident. That might be the most poetic description of being a eunuch in history. I never thought of it that way," you admit, unsure if you should feel insulted or enlightened. "Of course not," Melancholy declares. "True wisdom only comes through suffering." You wake up on the 12th day, still trying to process last night's philosophical debate between two drunk nobles arguing whether eunuchs are wise by accident or just unlucky guys with delusions of intellect. Your personal conclusion: you're definitely unlucky, and any wisdom you've gained comes from the raw desperation of trying not to die in absurd situations. "Morning, castrated philosopher," Gaius says sarcastically, as you crawl out of a bed that feels like it was designed by someone who hated the human spine. "Go fuck yourself, Gaius," you groan, massaging your back, which now makes suspicious noises every time you move. "I didn't ask to be the poster child for involuntary wisdom." "No one asks," adds Lugubrious in his funeral dirge voice, "but fate doesn't check our preferences before it fucks us completely." How motivational. Even the depressed eunuch manages to out-pessimistic you, which is impressive considering your current mental state. Today is your last day in Castle Melancholy, and apparently you're scheduled to take part in a farewell ceremony that sounds about as exciting as a preemptive funeral. Apparently, Lord Melancholy invented an elaborate ritual for departures, because even goodbyes have to be turned into existential trauma. The ceremony, Lugubrious explains while you prepare, is about reflecting on the temporality of human relationships, the inevitability of separation, and how every farewell is a small death. "That sounds cheerful," you mutter. "Cheerfulness is forbidden during the ceremony," Lugubrious says, dead serious. "Any sign of happiness is seen as emotional shallowness." Of course. God forbid anyone actually feel okay during a goodbye. The ceremony takes place in the main courtyard, decorated specially with dead flowers, black candles, and what looks like an altar dedicated to sadness itself. Lord Melancholy shows up dressed like he's attending his own funeral, and Godfrey is in a slightly darker version of his usual peacock attire, his attempt at respecting the emotional atmosphere. "Friends," Melancholy begins in a ghost-like voice, "today we part ways, knowing every separation brings us closer to the final separation from all we know." "Beautiful," Godfrey whispers, genuinely touched by the funeral poetry. "Life," Melancholy continues, "is nothing but a series of temporary goodbyes leading to the permanent one. Every 'see you soon' is a lie, because nothing lasts forever." You glance around. All the servants and eunuchs are crying, not out of real sadness, but because apparently That's the correct emotional response here. It's basically community theater for depression. And now, melancholy announces dramatically, each person must share a reflection on what this visit meant in terms of confronting mortality. Oh, great. You're going to have to give a TED Talk on death at a medieval goodbye ritual. Godfrey goes first. This visit taught me that, overeating is actually a metaphor for the spiritual consumerism of our age. Profound, Melancholy says, clapping sadly. Next, the eunuchs. Each one scrambles to outdo the others in a contest of who can sound the most pretentiously miserable. Gaius. I realized our suffering as eunuchs is just a microscopic reflection of universal suffering. Lugubrious. I discovered my personal sadness is part of the greater sadness that saturates all existence. One of the ex-bandits. I realized robbing people was actually a metaphor for how life robs us of innocence. Everyone stares at him, impressed with his accidental depth. Finally, it's your turn. Every eye is on you, waiting for your contribution to this medieval sadness slam poetry session. You begin, trying to think of something deep that doesn't sound completely ridiculous. I realized that losing my dick was actually freedom from the material illusions that bind us to earthly suffering. Silence. Everyone stares, either in awe or horror. It's hard to tell. Magnificent! Melancholy suddenly bellows, clapping harder than you thought possible. You turned physical trauma into spiritual enlightenment. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Congrats. You just became the official philosopher eunuch of the ceremony. Even you're impressed at how well you bullshitted that. The ceremony drags on with more speeches, dirge-like songs sung by servants who look like they're auditioning for a group suicide, and a dance interpretation of inevitable separation, so depressing it makes you question whether life's worth continuing. Is this supposed to be art? You whisper to Gaius. It's art, if you believe art should make you want to kill yourself, he whispers back. Apparently, that's the medieval definition of fine arts. The ceremony's climax is the exchange of farewell gifts, each a depressing symbol of mortality. Melancholy gives Godfrey an hourglass to represent how time trickles down toward inevitable death, while Godfrey hands him a mirror that reflects the gradual decay of our physical appearance. Such unique gifts, you mutter. Last year, Lugubrious whispers, the Lord gave a guest a doll made of human hair to symbolize the dead childhood we all carry inside. Yep. Melancholy has a gift for turning literally anything into a death metaphor. Finally, mercifully, the ceremony ends, and you all leave the castle of eternal sadness. As the carriage rolls away, you look back and see Melancholy waving mournfully from the tower, probably already drafting a monologue about abandonment. Well, Godfrey says, sounding oddly upbeat, that was educational. Educational how, you ask? It made me realize I'm not as miserable as I thought, he says. Compared to Melancholy, my life looks almost joyful. He's right. 3 days of exposure to industrial-grade depression turned Godfrey into an optimist. Medieval miracles exist. Where to now? Gaius asks, glancing at a map that looks more like a toddler's doodle. Castle Paranoid, Godfrey beams. I've heard he suspects everyone's trying to kill him. Lord Paranoid. After Lord Melancholy, you're headed to meet someone who probably thinks even his own shadow is plotting against him. This tour of psychologically unstable nobles is turning into a crash course in medieval mental health. Well, you mutter, already bracing yourself, this should be interesting. Interesting, Gaius nods. As in, we'll probably be accused of conspiracy before we even walk through the gates. The carriage rattles down the dusty road toward the next chapter in your absurd life. 12 days a medieval eunuch, and your still learning reality can always get stranger. At least, you think optimistically, I can't lose my dick twice. You wake up on the 13th day in an inn somehow worse than the last two, which you didn't think was physically possible until you tried sleeping on a bed made of jagged rocks and misplaced optimism. Your first conscious thought is someone outside screaming about infiltrating spies and mass conspiracies. Not exactly the wake-up call you were hoping for. Rise and shine, conspirator, Gaius mutters, kicking you in the leg. Looks like we're in paranoid lord territory earlier than expected. Conspirator? What the hell do you mean, conspirator? You mumble, still trying to arrange your thoughts in something resembling order. Apparently, Gaius explains, if you sleep in an inn within 10 leagues of Castle Paranoid, you're automatically under suspicion of treason. Flawless medieval logic. Medieval logic. An oxymoron you've become painfully familiar with over the last 13 days. You drag yourself to the window and look outside. Soldiers in full armor are interrogating every single guest. And not the casual, "Where are you from?" type of questioning. No, this is full on. Confess your sinister plot now or face medieval consequences. A spice merchant is being forced to prove his cargo isn't actually chemical weapons, while a family of peasants is swearing on their lives that their children aren't secretly dwarf assassins. This is insane, you mutter. Welcome to Lord Paranoid's turf, whispers a local eunuch, which is probably not the smartest move in a place where whispering itself is considered suspicious activity. Here, even thinking too hard is treason. What the hell does that mean, thinking too hard? The Lord believes strong thoughts emit evil brainwaves that can be detected by other conspirators. So any display of intelligence is treated as secret communication. Evil brainwaves. Medieval paranoia is outpacing modern sci-fi. Breakfast is served under military supervision. Every single bite you take is watched by soldiers who seem convinced your chewing rhythm could be coded messages. You try to chew as innocently as possible, which is shockingly difficult when you're hyper-aware of being analyzed like a criminal. That one's chewing suspiciously, a soldier points at you. Too rhythmic. Could be code. Code for what? Another asks. Doesn't matter. It's code. Nobody chews like that by accident. You're now under suspicion of treason for chewing bread evenly. Your life has officially transcended absurdity. Sir Soldier, you say carefully, I'm just eating. Aha! He shouts triumphantly. And why do you need to eat? Maybe to keep your strength up for conspiracy work. Because everyone needs to eat. That's exactly what a conspirator would say. You're trapped in a circular logic so perfect it could make philosophers either weep or applaud. Godfrey, who's been trying and failing to stay under the radar, impossible when you're a giant peacock of a man, finally steps in. Soldiers, I am Lord Godfrey of someplace important. I'm here on official diplomatic business with Lord Paranoid. The soldiers exchange nervous looks, struggling to process this. How do we know you're not just a fat assassin disguised as a noble? One demands. Because I have official documents, Godfrey bellows, waving a scroll covered in fancy seals. Documents can be forged. And these seals, the soldier narrows his eyes. They're too well done, suspicious. My seals are good because they're real. That's exactly what someone with fake seals would say. Paranoid logic is basically performance art. After 2 hours of this nonsense, You're finally conditionally released under suspicious custody, which basically means you're allowed to travel to Castle Paranoid, but escorted by a dozen soldiers who treat you like you're all plotting murder at any given second. Is this escort really necessary? Godfrey groans. Absolutely necessary, says the captain, his eyes darting everywhere like he expects clouds to pull knives. You might try communicating with other conspirators using secret signals. What kind of signals? Any kind. Waving, sneezing, breathing suspiciously, existing suspiciously. Breathing suspiciously. Didn't know that was an option until today. Castle Paranoid finally looms into view, looking like a fortress designed by someone who believes literally everyone is trying to kill him. More watchtowers than windows, more guards than servants. Walls so tall they block out the damn sun. Basically, a castle designed with anxiety as the architect. Cozy place, one of the ex-bandits mutters. Shut up, the captain barks. Comments on architecture are suspicious. How is that suspicious? Because you might be studying the defenses to report back to other conspirators. But I just said it was cozy. Irony is also suspicious. You've officially entered a world where sarcasm is considered subversive activity. Getting inside the castle makes modern airport security look like a drive-through. 12 checkpoints, each more ridiculous than the last. Your belongings are searched like they expect socks to contain swords and combs to double as spy radios. This broom, one soldier announces, holding up a literal broom, could be used for cleaning or for signaling. It's a broom, Gaius explains patiently. That's exactly what someone with a spy broom would say. You're starting to understand why Lord Melancholy was depressed. Living in constant paranoia would make anyone question life itself. Finally, you're hauled into Lord Paranoid's presence. He's a thin, twitchy man with darting eyes, sitting in a chair positioned so he can see every door and window at once. 6 heavily armed guards hover within stabbing distance. Godfrey, he says, not standing, not offering a handshake. Probably because physical contact is an assassination risk. How interesting to see you here. Paranoid, my old friend, Godfrey says, trying to fake cheerfulness while ignoring the crossbows pointed at him. Friend, Paranoid repeats the word like it's poison. Yes, of course, because friends never betray each other. Do they? No? Godfrey offers weakly. Exactly! Paranoid slams the table. Which proves you're here to kill me. I'm not here to kill you. That's exactly what someone trying to kill me would say. The conversation is already spiraling into the expected nightmare. In fact, Godfrey tries again, I came to discuss a commercial partnership. Oh, sure, Paranoid sneers. A partnership. And what exactly would this involve? Poison disguised as spices? Assassins disguised as merchants? Selling normal food to normal people for normal money. Normal food, Paranoid snaps. There's no such thing as normal food. Every bite can be poisoned. Every coin can be counterfeit. Every person can be an assassin. You're starting to notice a pattern here. Godfrey has a knack for visiting nobles with psychological disorders so severe they could double as horror stories. You wake up on the 14th day in Lord Paranoid's castle, technically in a guest room, but let's be real. It's a fucking jail cell. Bars on the windows, one guarded exit, and a lingering smell that screams, enhanced interrogation went down here last night. Your first conscious thought is the sound of someone in the hallway being interrogated about suspicious nighttime breathing patterns. Good morning, Conspirator 247, Gaius whispers from the cot next to yours, his voice so low it's basically a thought. Sleep well under constant surveillance? Don't whisper, you whisper back. Then realize the irony and have a brief existential crisis about the correct communication protocol in maximum paranoia mode. The door bursts open, and a soldier marches in like he's storming Normandy. "Morning inspection," he bellows. Checking for conspiratorial activities carried out during sleep. Conspiratorial activities during sleep, you ask, because your brain refuses to accept this level of stupidity without clarification. Yes, subversive dreams, suspicious sleeping positions, snoring at questionable frequencies, he explains with military-grade seriousness. Suspicious snoring frequencies? Exactly. Snoring too regularly? Secret code to other conspirators. Too irregular? Code disguised as irregular breathing. Medium frequency? Signals to assassins. You are now under investigation for sleep crimes. Kafka would look at this cis and say, "Damn, that's a bit much." "What if I don't snore?" you ask. "Aha!" the soldier shouts triumphantly. "Even more suspicious. Means you were awake, planning." Planning what? Conspiracy. You've officially entered a closed loop of logic so airtight it could suffocate an entire philosophy department. Breakfast is served in the supervised dining hall, where every fork movement is observed like it's the Zapruder film. Apparently, there are suspicious ways to hold a fork. Too tight, sabritsan saktifat, chitans, hidden aggression. Too loose, ready to stab someone. Suspicious ways to cut food. Too precise. Military training. Too sloppy. Trying to look unsuspicious. Even suspicious ways to swallow. Too slow. Checking for poison. Too fast. Used to poison. How the hell does anyone eat without looking suspicious? You whisper to another castle eunuch, a poor bastard named Anxious, who looks like his whole nervous system is glitching. "You don't," he says, twitching. "Or you do, but then you're suspicious. Or you don't, but then you're suspicious for not eating. Basically, existing is suspicious." How long have you been here? 2 years and a half and 3 days. Unless that's wrong. Counting could look suspicious. Like I'm timing something for other conspirators. Paranoia spreads faster than the flu. During breakfast, an emergency investigation kicks off when one of the ex-bandits sneezes. Twice. "Suspicious nasal activity!" a soldier screams, surrounding him instantly. "Explain the nature of these sneezes." Achoo, have allergies," the poor guy stammers. Allergies to what exactly? Dust? Dust from where? Dust from destroyed secret documents? Dust from tunnels dug for infiltration? Dust from treason? Just normal dust? There is no normal dust. All dust is from somewhere, and everywhere can be conspiratorial. 40 minutes later, they're analyzing particle trajectories and suspicious mucus patterns. You are literally watching a medieval CSI episode based entirely on boogers. After breakfast, miraculously finished without being accused of food crimes, you're assigned to observed service activities, which means cleaning while soldiers scribble notes like paranoid Yelp reviewers. "He scrubbed the table clockwise," one soldier notes. "Possible signal to Northern Hemisphere conspirators." Actually, another argues, clockwise is standard code for proceed with the plan. Highly suspicious. But counterclockwise would be the abort signal, right? Obviously. Unless it's reverse code, where counterclockwise means proceed and clockwise means abort. Or a double reverse code triggered by lunar cycles. You stop scrubbing just to watch this conversation spiral into astronomical conspiracy math. "Suspect stopped cleaning," one soldier screams, clearly listening to our tactical analysis. Or waiting for telepathic orders. Or maybe I'm just tired of scrubbing, you offer. Dead silence. Every soldier stares like you just confessed to regicide. "He admitted motivation to stop working," one whispers. "Disloyal." Or misdirection while executing a secret plan. "What secret plan can I execute with a broom?" you ask. "Many plans," they shout in unison. That afternoon, you're summoned to a conspiracy prevention integration session run personally by Lord Paranoid. The room is circular, so he can see everyone, lined with mirrors, so he can see himself seeing everyone, and crawling with guards cocked and loaded. "Welcome," he says, "to the session where we expose conspirators through advanced psychological detection." "What kind of techniques?" Godfrey asks, already regretting being alive. "First, breathing analysis. Conspirators breathe differently." "How?" "Too regular? Artificial control? Too irregular? Natural nervousness? Normal? Trained nervousness?" You're stuck in logic where every possible option is guilty. Second, eye movement. Looking around means scouting escape routes. Looking at me means intimidation. Not looking means guilt. Looking sometimes means checking if I suspect you. Behavioral analysis has officially become performance art. Tests escalate. Suspicious pen holding. Suspicious chair sitting. And the ultimate, say an innocent sentence test. Godfrey. I like the weather today." "Weather signals! Code for attack!" Gaius. "The food here is tasty." "Poison, distraction, clearly evil." Ex-bandit. "I'm not a conspirator." Too obvious. Confession by denial. Finally, it's your turn. Everyone waits. Is there even a sentence I can say that isn't suspicious?" you ask honestly. Silence. Paranoico stares at you like you just split the atom. "Genius," he whispers. "You've forced me to admit my flawless system may have flaws, which means real conspirators could be slipping through, which proves there's a conspiracy to undermine my system. Congratulations, you just broke Lord Paranoid's brain with reverse circular logic." "Guards!" he screams. "This eunuch is clearly the master conspirator. Only advanced psychological training could weaponize such dangerous questions." "I just asked a question." "Exactly! Innocent questions are the most dangerous." And just like that, you're upgraded from suspect to criminal mastermind for daring to apply basic logic in a castle where logic is classified as WMD. My life is officially a medieval sitcom, you think, being escorted to maximum security anti-conspiracy housing. And you're right. Unfortunately, nobody warned you sitcoms could double as horror. You wake up on day 15 in the maximum security anti-conspiracy cell, which is basically a hole in the wall with an iron door and just enough airflow to keep you technically alive, but never comfortable. Your first conscious thought is a horrible epiphany. You're utterly, irreversibly fucked, but somehow still alive after 2 weeks in medieval hell. Morning, supreme leader of the conspiracy, Gaius says from the cell next door, dripping sarcasm. How's it feel being the criminal mastermind of an organization you didn't even know existed? Feels like I should have died on day 1. But the universe decided it'd be funnier to keep me alive, just to see how much worse this psycho can get, you mutter, staring at the iron bars that separate you from freedom. Existential philosophy before breakfast, Gaius nods approvingly. I love that in a kingpin. The morning comes with a new twist. You're going on trial. Not a real trial, like with a judge, jury, evidence, or, God forbid, presumption of innocence. No, this is the Special Anti-Conspiracy Tribunal, where guilt is assumed, innocence has to be proven, and proving your innocence is suspicious because only conspirators would try that hard to look innocent. How does this tribunal work? You ask a guard who looks like he considers smiling an act of subversion. Simple, he says cheerfully, like he's describing Disneyland. You're guilty until proven innocent. But proving innocence, that's suspicious. Because why would you try so hard if you weren't guilty? So, if I defend myself, I'm guilty. If I don't, I'm also guilty? Exactly. Perfect system, right? Perfect in the sense that it's unwinnable. Like playing chess where your opponent has 12 queens, and all you've got are suicidal pawns. The tribunal is held in the Hall of Paranoid Justice, decorated with portraits of people who look like they're constantly glancing over their shoulders. The furniture is arranged so no one can sit down without being vulnerable to at least 3 possible ambush angles. Lord Paranoid presides, wearing judicial robes with full armor underneath, because obviously eunuch assassins are known for deadly opening statements. He's surrounded by guards with crossbows, swords, and at least one guy holding a net, because apparently acrobat eunuch jailbreaks are a known issue. Court is in session! Paranoid booms, slamming a gavel that could double as a warhammer. Today, we judge the accused. What's your name again? I don't actually remember, you admit, realizing 2 weeks in medieval nightmare land, and you still don't know your own damn name. Aha! Paranoid shouts triumphantly. Fake identity. First piece of evidence confirmed. It's not fake. I literally just forgot. Convenient amnesia. Second piece of evidence confirmed. Amnesia can be from trauma. Trauma of being exposed as a conspirator. Third piece confirmed. You haven't even started defending yourself and you're already guilty 3 times over. Medieval efficiency at its finest. Formal charges are as follows, Paranoid continues, reading from a list clearly written during a caffeine-fueled panic attack. Conspiracy to conspire. Advanced conspiracy. Psychological confusion. Conspiracy. Suspicious breathing. Code mastication. And, oh yes, conspiratorial existence. Conspiratorial existence? How the hell does someone exist suspiciously, you ask? By existing in a way that suggests conspiracy, he snaps, proud of his airtight logic. For example, you exist during a time when conspiracies exist. Coincidence? I think not. But conspiracies exist all the time, by your own logic. Exactly! And you always exist. The correlation is obvious. Paranoid math. Correlation, causation, conspiracy, every damn time. Now, Paranoid declares, the accused may defend himself. Reminder, any defense can and will be used as further evidence of conspiracy. You look around the room. Godfrey looks like he regrets ever being born. Gaius is clearly taking mental notes for comedy material. The ex-bandits seem genuinely impressed that something worse than banditry exists. And 20 soldiers wait for the cue to murder you the second you're declared guilty. Well, you start. Lord Paranoid, I understand your concerns about conspiracy. Suspicious! Only conspirators understand other conspirators. But I can assure you, I'm not one. Even more suspicious, denial is the clearest sign of guilt. So what can I say? Nothing. Speaking is suspicious. And staying quiet? Also suspicious. Silence is non-verbal communication. You are officially trapped in a legal system designed by a drunk philosophy major on bath salts. You know what? You sigh. I give up. Silence. Everyone blinks. Paranoid tilts his head like a confused dog. Give up. What? Everything, you say, raw honesty pouring out. 15 days ago, I had a DT. Now I don't. I woke up in the Middle Ages for no reason. I've shoveled every type of medieval cess imaginable. Served nobles who make Nero look chill, fought zombies with a broken broom, and now I'm on trial for crimes that include existing suspiciously. I'm done trying to make sense of anything. The room is stunned. Paranoid looks shaken, like you just unplugged his brain. You're not denying the charges, not trying to escape, not revealing your secret network of co-conspirators? What network? I can barely organize my own thoughts. If you want to kill me for suspicious breathing, fine. At least I won't have to clean up after fat nobles anymore. This rattles him. Acceptance wasn't in the manual. That doesn't add up, he mutters. Conspirators always fight, always deny, always resist. Maybe, Gaius offers, he's not actually a conspirator? Impossible, Paranoid snaps, but his voice cracks. He has all the signs. Or, Godfrey chimes in, maybe he's such an advanced conspirator, he's using reverse anti-conspiracy tactics to look non-conspiratorial. Paranoid's eyes widen. Brilliant! An anti-conspirator. Someone who conspires against conspirators by pretending not to conspire. This is the most elaborate conspiracy I've ever seen. Or, you mumble, I'm just a dickless loser who wants to leave. Exactly what an anti-conspirator would say. And just like that, you're reclassified from master conspirator to supreme anti-conspirator, a crime category Paranoid literally invented on the spot, but apparently even worse. The sentence, he declares dramatically. I don't actually know. Never caught one of these before. May I suggest exile, you offer? Suspicious. Why exile? To find your anti-conspirator allies? To never see you psychos again. Even more suspicious. And that's how your trial ends. Guilty of everything, innocent of nothing, and sentenced to whatever crazy punishment Paranoid dreams up next. You don't exactly wake up on day 16. It's more like you crawl back from a half-conscious trauma nap and realize you're tied up in the back of a cart, rattling down a road that feels like it was designed by someone who personally hated the concept of wheels. Your first clear thought? Somehow, you survived Lord Paranoid's trial, which is both a blessing and a curse. Blessing because you're not dead. Curse because you're still stuck living with the fallout of your anti-conspirator existence. Oh, you're awake, Gaius mutters from across the cart, also tied up. Welcome to forced exile. Congrats, you managed to get kicked out of a place that was already hell. Exile, you croak, skull pounding like somebody used your head as a medieval drum kit. Yep, says Godfrey, who, naturally, is also exiled, but somehow still riding first class, because nobles don't stop being entitled just because they're disgraced. Lord Paranoid thought executing you was too suspicious, since real conspirators clearly wanted you dead. So he banished you instead, to confuse the other conspirators. Paranoid logic literally saved your life, by being paranoid about paranoia. Your existence is now officially a Dali painting. And where exactly are we being exiled to? The no man's lands, Gaius says way too cheerfully. Lovely place. No law, no government, no civilization. Perfect for traumatized eunuchs and washed-up nobles. No man's lands sounds cozy, Think Wild West, but worse. More plagues, fewer guns. The exile road trip takes 3 days and, of course, plays out like every medieval nightmare reel. Competent bandits. Finally, ones who almost manage to rob you blind. Storms that turn the road into medieval soup. Food that may or may not be trying to assassinate you. And one inn where your roommates are a family of rats with very clear territorial rights. By day 3, staring out at the wasteland, you mutter, "At least it can't be worse than serving insane nobles." Famous last words, Gaius says flatly. And yeah, he's right. Because the no-man's lands are both better and worse. Better because no fat noble is accusing you of breathing suspiciously. Worse because literally nothing exists. No law, no order, no infrastructure, no one to shovel your summiwood for you. Just emptiness and doom. Well, Godfrey announces, as the cart dumps you all in a town that looks like its builders gave up halfway through life, this is where I leave you. Good luck. You're not staying? You ask, baffled. Of course not. I still own estates elsewhere. You peasants can rot. And off he goes. Refreshingly honest, at least. So here you are, technically free for the first time in 2 weeks. Free to starve, free to get robbed, free to catch plague, or free to sit on a rock and contemplate how your life became a medieval existential comedy starring you. So, what now, you ask? Now, Gaius says, studying the ruined town like a tourist in a graveyard, we find out if traumatized eunuchs can survive in a post-apocalyptic Middle Ages. Do we even have useful skills for that? You shovel, sir. I know how to survive lunatic nobles, and the ex-bandits know how to fail at robbery. Together, we're basically the most incompetent survival squad in history. Comforting. Realistic, he shrugs. The first few days are a crash course in how fragile civilization really is. You set up camp in an abandoned tavern with busted furniture and semi-edible food. Slowly, a routine forms. Gaius becomes the strategist. He decides what to do when nothing works. The ex-bandits become resource acquisition experts. They steal from worse bandits, which technically counts as justice. And you? You're apparently the guy who somehow doesn't die. One night, 3 weeks in, while eating something that may once have been rabbit, you say, "This is messed up, but I think I actually like it here." "How the hell do you mean?" Gaius asks, gnawing cautiously. "Well, nobody makes me shovel other people's crap. Nobody whips me for spilling something. I don't have to dress fat nobles or get accused of conspiracy for sneezing. And..." You pause. "For the first time since I woke up in this nightmare, I actually make my own choices, even if they're all bad choices." Freedom through total lack of options, Gaius muses. Bold philosophy. "And hey," you add, "I survived 2 weeks that should have killed me on day 1. If I can handle Godfrey, Lord Melancholy, and Lord Paranoid, I can handle anything." Even being dickless in an era where having one is literally the only career path? Especially that. You say it with surprising conviction. "I didn't choose it, but at least now it's my problem. Nobody else's." It hits you. You're in the worst possible situation. No dick, no cash, no house, no future, stuck in a time where medicine is just prayer and hope. And yet, for the first time, you feel weirdly free. Not happy, but free. "Want to know what's really wild?" you tell Gaius. "I think I finally get why I woke up here." Why? Because in my old life, I probably whined about small crap. Boring job, dumb relationship drama, problems that weren't even real. So the universe dropped me here to show me what real problems look like. And the lesson? that everything's relative, that you can always survive more than you think, and that even without balls, you can still kick medieval life in the ass if you have to. Deep, Gaius nods. Surprisingly deep for a guy who spent 2 weeks shoveling manure. Maybe that's exactly why it's deep. 6 months later, you've built something that vaguely resembles a community in the no man's lands. Other exiles, refugees, and people who just gave up on the rest of civilization join your group. You, yes, the dickless, broom-swinging, conspiracy-accused eunuch, somehow become the unofficial counselor. Because apparently, surviving insane nobles qualifies you to teach people how to keep their sanity in a world that's anything but. And for the first time since you woke up in this medieval circus, you don't feel cursed. You feel like maybe, just maybe, you finally belong. You're sitting in an abandoned tavern 6 months after exile when it hits you. Out of nowhere, like somebody switched on a TV inside your skull, you remember. Holy fying shit! You scream, making Gaius spill the questionable booze you two brewed out of rotten fruit. What now? He asks, already way too used to your occasional meltdowns. I remember everything. And you really do. Every damn detail slams into you like a tsunami of memories. You were at your computer, playing some medieval RPG, whining about how the game was too easy and how real eunuchs in the Middle Ages had it way worse. You were clowning on it, bragging, saying, some average dude wouldn't last a single day as a medieval eunuch. Then you passed out on your keyboard. I was literally playing this, you shout, pointing wildly at, well, everything around you. This is a game, a hyper-realistic medieval RPG. A game? Gaius squints, clearly lost. Yes, and apparently the game decided to teach me a lesson about complaining about difficulty settings. But then you freeze. Because if this is a game, why the hell doesn't Gaius know it? Why don't the NPCs know they're NPCs? Gaius, you ask carefully, do you have memories from before being a eunuch? Of course, he says. Born to peasants, sold off at 8, chopped, been working as a eunuch for 15 years. And those memories feel real to you? Obviously, they are real. They're mine. You just stare at him, processing. If this is a game, either Gaius is the best AI ever coded, or this isn't a game. Wait, you mutter, dread creeping in. If I remembered my past life, but I'm still here. If this were a game, wouldn't I have, I don't know, logged out or respawned or something? The tavern goes dead quiet. Unless, you whisper, horror tightening in your chest, unless this is real. Like real. And I somehow time-traveled, or slipped into a parallel universe, or reincarnated with memories. Or, Gaius offers matter-of-factly, you've finally snapped and are hallucinating a past life in some future with magic machines. You actually consider it. Makes sense. 15 days of medieval trauma could absolutely spawn an entire psychotic break. But if it's a hallucination, you argue with yourself, why would I remember stuff like computers, the internet, burgers, flush toilets? Because hallucinations can be weirdly specific, Gaius says. I've seen guys swear they had chats with Jesus, St. Peter, and God himself. Details don't make it real. You go silent. 5 whole minutes. Stuck between 3 equally insane options. You're in a hyper-realistic RPG. You actually time-traveled or dimension-hopped. You're insane and made up an entire modern life. Finally, you slam your mug down. You know what? Fuck it. That's it. Gaius raises a brow. Yeah. Fascinated. If this is real, or a game, or a mental breakdown. I survived. I learned. I became a better person. Or at least someone who doesn't bitch about small problems anymore. If this is real, great. If it's a game, it's the best damn game ever made. If it's insanity, well, at least it's interesting. And if you wake up tomorrow back in your old life, then I'm going to cherish every flush toilet and fast food burger like they're holy relics. And I'll never complain about a boring job again. And if you don't wake up, then I'll keep building this weird-ass exile community and try not to die of dysentery. Gaius actually nods. You know, for a guy who might be completely nuts, you make a lot of sense. And for an NPC who may or may not even be real, you're pretty damn philosophical. You clink mugs, down the foul booze, and go back to surviving the Middle Ages. Real, virtual, or purely imagined. Because at the end of the day, the line between reality and perception doesn't matter when you're too busy living to worry about metaphysics. And that's how the eunuch who wasn't supposed to last a single day lasted way longer than anyone thought. Learning that life is tougher, messier, and way funnier than any game, hallucination, or nightmare could ever prepare you for. The end P.S. You never once complained about traffic, cold food, or slow Wi-Fi again, because after 2 weeks shoveling medieval shy tea, everything else feels like a luxury. 2